Ready. Well, it's 6 o'clock. So I think we'll get rolling on the select board meeting. Which we already did the Board of Civil Authority. For anybody wondering why that was on the agenda there, that was a meeting that preceded this and has wrapped up. We're now going to roll into the select board meeting agenda, and we have a discussion of ash tree removal that was scheduled for 6 o'clock with Neil Maker, who's the tree warden. While we have some good information there, I think maybe we'll just roll into the FY 2027 budget discussion with Kari, and if Neil shows up, we can just put a pause on that and circle back on the ash tree thing. Is everybody able to find the budget information, the draft capital? So Kari, you've noted that there are a couple more things added to the draft budget.
Yeah, that's right. So this year we started adding in culverts and bridges and added a line for land acquisition discussed, and also this year added an inflation factor 4%, just so we have that.
Yeah.
And so we put all that together, and of course we're focused on fiscal 27 will be where we insert these items into the budget to be proposed to voters. And there are some big ticket items. There's the Loose Road culvert and the Bliss Pond Road culvert.
Yeah.
And those would be to take advantage of existing grants that or the money has to be spent by December of 26.
Say the two projects again, please.
That's the Loose Road and Bliss Pond.
Right, okay.
So those are existing grants. They're not obligated to use the grants, but if we want to use the grants, we need to pay those portions. Then I also added in the next round of repaving and determined that would be Marshfield Road. It actually, that was the order that it was done in last time, south half of county, Marshfield, and the north half of county, nearly 10 years ago. We don't have that grant now, so that would depend on getting a class 2 highway grant. And then another one would be a new truck, which we've talked about in the past. That truck is not on order, so I can't even say for sure that it is an expense we would, if we wanted to, we could incur just because of how long the lead times are. But if we were to go forward, if we thought we had confident that it would be included in the budget, probably go forward and place the order. So those 4 items, and as you can see, the result of that, there's quite an increase contemplated for 27. And I guess this is a starting point of the discussion. I didn't presume that we would actually include all of these items in the next budget, just because it would have a pretty significant year-over-year impact on the budget. But they're all things that we need and we talked about doing in this time frame. So it's kind of the point of these documents is get the conversation going.
I don't know if others have kind of a strong opinion about whether or not this type of information gets captured in this particular document or some other way, but I know in the past we've had conversations about how much the existing equipment inventory is costing from like a repair or consumable standpoint, and whether or not it makes sense to modify our capital plan accordingly. And I wonder if there's a way to start looking at what our current maintenance costs are for any of these individual trucks. Like, so when I'm looking at this, you see the different ages of the trucks and, all of the Western Stars and everything. And I personally have a pretty good sense of, what that truck is, but not when you start breaking them down year to year, and model year to model year. And I think sometimes it can change even like model year to model year and maybe that's a matter of under like each one of the existing pieces of equipment, adding a second row that is annual kind of like carrying costs or maintenance costs or something like that, just even if they're just averaged out. So that we have, because
It wouldn't sit in the capital expense, would it?
I think you could make the argument that it would if you wanted to have like a certain maintenance budget for
You wanted to build a maintenance budget for all the equipment.
all of the existing equipment in there. And make a decision on whether.
I hear you saying like when you're making a decision at the margin, say, do we want to buy that new truck in 27? Or is
That's right.
Is it actually cost
Yeah.
effective to maintain
Right.
the existing, or is it clearly better to purchase the new truck?
Yeah, even if that's not, I think entirely clear, if we're having a tough year, like, or if you're seeing that there's a particular bubble in one year or another, and you want to, looking at the numbers for maintenance, assume the risk of holding on to something longer and
Yeah.
pushing out a purchase date by a year.
Yeah, I hear you. I think maybe we could look at that question next time.
Okay.
Because we're going to be talking about the highway
Yeah,
department budget.
yeah,
And remember last year, I compiled the material
yeah,
spending over the
Yeah.
past 5 years. So I have that, and I have then the big categories,
oh,
including
good,
maintenance.
yeah,
I haven't broken that down by individual
equipment,
piece of equipment. And I think I could, but I don't know how good the data is. My impression when I came on is that we had only recently started looking at maintenance costs by individual piece of equipment. I might be wrong about that. But we can take a look at it and,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have enough context to answer that. My personal sense is that, when I came on board, we had moved to kind of a capital planning, strategy that involved largely just, buying new vehicles and selling older ones
Yeah.
and having a kind of a steadier every 5 to 7 years, it's coming out of rotation, we're putting in a new one, and so then the maintenance costs are really just, whatever the consumables are for that piece of equipment. But, last year, as we were starting to get into some of this a little bit, Toby had at least alluded to maybe needing to even reconsider that strategy a little bit relative to what the lead times are and
right.
and interest rates, and that sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
so I think it's like, I think we, in not too distant past, there was a collective decision that like, okay, we're just going to manage this in this other way. And now within 5 years, we're already thinking like we need to have a little bit better line of sight in whether or not we're dealing with
Yeah.
certain pieces of equipment sucking more maintenance costs than others. But
Yeah.
that could also just be a standalone report that, comes from like the road
Well,
foreman or something like that. But
I'll try to make sense of it for the next meeting, because we will be talking about the overall highway budget.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a big part of it. Especially if we're gonna be adding a third truck. You can see we are on a 7-year rotation for these dump trucks. Which means that most years we have 3.
Right.
But the year we're in currently, we only have 2, which was helpful.
Definitely.
But then to add another large payment is not easy.
No. Well, and especially not if we're gonna need to start covering more of the costs, I think, for some of the projects.
Yeah,
And choosing between equipment and projects. Right?
exactly.
Right.
Like I didn't even put in the Haggett Road culvert, which I'd love to do. I mean, that's a culvert that got blown out in 23 and 24. But it is so expensive, even net of the grant.
Yeah,
It just was discouraging to see the number in there.
Yeah.
It didn't seem realistic, actually, to put it in there.
So will sorry, Barbara.
I was just gonna say, just looking at this, sorry, first time, or whatever, do I understand that the 2017 truck is not currently in use? Is that the one that just got,
This, the very first line,
yes,
no, that's in use.
okay,
Yeah.
delivery year, 2027. I'm just
So-
confused by the date.
Oh, sorry, that doesn't seem-
Replacement year is
Yeah, that
2026.
doesn't seem right.
So delivery year must have been 2017?
Ignore that.
Okay.
That is incorrect.
Okay,
I will update that.
and then just quickly, the other, and the one below it is confusing as well, but maybe it just got overtyped by accident. There was a conversation, Jordan, that you raised, or a point that you raised about whether some of these things we might need to, the estimated life. We might wanna start stretching that to some extent, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I don't know if this represents that already, or?
I don't think it does, no.
Uh-huh.
No, my understanding is
This
that,
is what
you know,
we
this
hear.
is
That
based,
7-year rotation.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is like a 5 to 7 year rotation.
Okay. Great. Do we need a sign up sheet?
We didn't bring one, but
Yeah.
we know this guy.
Yeah.
We'll just make sure everybody announces themselves. Okay, well. So I guess the other, point relative to culverts, so we've got like the big projects on here, which I think are really helpful. And maybe this just gets tabled for discussion with like the materials budget and like the, highway department budget, but. I think we've got big culverts, like big project culverts and that sort of thing, but then we have like the small culverts that we would want to potentially consider stockpiling or setting like an annual allotment for replacement, and I guess that wouldn't necessarily
That'll be in the budget you see next.
be in in a capital plan, but could be. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and no doubt we are spending more on culverts these days. Some of that's getting reimbursed, but
Yeah.
there's a need.
Yeah.
Um,
I would think that at some point that if we're upsizing everything and now with the way that they're being constructed largely out of like PVC or plastic and that sort of thing, that they probably have a different shelf life. So at some point, we're going to tip into not needing as many of them, but
it might be a while, but yeah.
Yeah, it
I
might
can see
be.
that logic. Yeah.
All of those are captured on a map, right? And yeah,
It's
on
on
a
the
spreadsheet.
State
On a
keeps an
state
inventory.
map, okay. All right.
I forget the number, it's hundreds and hundreds of culverts.
It's so many. But I'm sorry, all of this is being led by the background context of a meeting that Kari and I had last week with Woodbury about things that we might want to try to consolidate purchasing power around, and culverts, I think, is on that list. To see if there's some way that we can get negotiated pricing, if we have a way of forecasting like what our annual buy is going to need to be for the next 5 years on a certain size, just kind of general maintenance culvert. I guess theoretically we could make available to people who are putting in curb cuts or something like that if they wanted to buy them off of the town.
Yeah, I mean, depending on
however we wanna.
how it's structured,
Yeah.
you wouldn't necessarily write that into a.
No, I'm just saying it, but if we were stockpiling them at a particular price, that could be a
Yeah.
benefit to that could be a benefit to the community if they're made available at a lesser price.
So two other points I'd make about this is, one is that there's a number of reserve funds here, and that's sort of like the mechanism to save for capital investment in particular facilities, and like the garage we just started, but also the town hall and town office, which are both in decent shape, but will need new roofs someday, or heating systems or whatever, so the strategy there is just to keep adding to these reserve funds over time. And then, also say that in my mind, the goal of something like this would be to try to even out the capital spending over time so that there aren't fluctuations in the tax rate. That to me is the goal of it. I mean, it's sustainable, and not overly burdensome or setting expectations in the way we don't want to for the residents.
Yeah, I think those are great to add in.
I had just a question about the land acquisition. I thought that was new,
Yeah,
but it's in FY 26.
oh. You're a sharp reader. That's
Okay, no, I'm just.
it doesn't exist yet, so.
It doesn't exist yet, yeah,
So it,
okay,
earliest it could be is 27.
okay. Thank you. Just learning this.
And I just threw 5,000 in there as a starting point. We'll see.
Were there any other pieces that you were looking for feedback on this particular spreadsheet? I mean, I think this is getting
Well,
really close to.
I'll take this and insert it into the draft 27 budget, so if you told me, no way we're doing that
Yeah,
culvert this year, we would just not put it in, but, again, we can put it in and we can have the conversation, we see how it all fits together and.
Yeah.
I mean, relative to how much we'd be losing in existing grant funds that have been awarded, I don't feel like we're in a position to start saying no to things that have already been awarded.
We talked about this, when we were talking about the federal transition, that's what the state treasurer is calling it, the federal transition. But, how do you manage your funds, and one thing is to go for grants, but there's always a match, right?
Right.
So you have to spend, so then the grant is great, but only if you really have to have the item. If it's a must have, then you're saving probably 80 or 90%.
Right.
But if it's not a must have, then you're having to invest the cash where you might want it for other reasons, so. But again, like Bliss Pond Road, that's another culvert that blew out 2 years in a row. Just a matter of time.
Yeah, exactly. I think, with these culvert projects, these are so far projects that we know have already cost us pretty significant, cost FEMA a pretty significant amount of money in the last couple of summers. I think maybe you could put the repaving into something of a more discretionary, but at the same time that's similar to like this year, we could earmark the funds, but if a grant came in where we needed $50,000 for another culvert project or something like that, that is a more significant pinch point, like we still have the reserve funds that we can choose to expend for paving if we felt like it was a priority. In my mind, that seems like that's how we balance that, is at least we capture it in the budget.
Right.
And then we can have a more discretionary conversation about like whether or not we actually use it or not. But yeah, I can't imagine that be able to make much of a change, knowing that those are already two awarded, or three awarded grants for things that are around $250,000. Or
Yeah, so
more.
how do you, yeah, so if you're trying to keep it even,
Yeah.
where's the?
Not sure how to do that this year. That's just the goal.
Yeah, I think those numbers are, I think it's probably as good as they're gonna be for
Well,
budgeting
I mean,
process.
is this is the second, there's a plow listed, or I mean, a dump plow truck, listed at. Did somebody just highlight this or? I'm not-
I did, yeah, I took a
Okay.
note to myself. Clean that up because there's some.
But anyway, that seems like the only thing that's movable. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'd say that's movable, and I would say the Marshfield Road paving is movable, we don't have that grant yet. That would just be deferring it another year, which would mean putting off the second half of County Road another year. I don't drive on Marshfield enough to comment really, I know it's not great in parts, but,
The south side is not great.
I worry about County Road holding up for 2 more years.
Yeah.
Parts of
I
that.
agree with that.
Yeah, there's some bad spots on the northern half.
I don't know how fast it deteriorates, but it might be worth talking to John about doing county before Marshall.
Well, we're committed to doing the southern half. Oh, no, John was the person that advocated for Marshfield first.
We get a lot of big trucks going up and down that road.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the totals and sort of where is there a place that there could be any movement, and that seemed, so you're saying Marshfield and the truck are the only two places, the paving and the truck are really.
Yeah, or forego Loose Road and or Bliss Pond, I mean, we don't.
Which means foregoing grant money,
Foregoing
in each
grants,
place,
yeah.
which doesn't seem rational.
Yeah.
Is the loose one the one by that wetlands area?
Yeah, I think so, and it's at the sort of the low point there.
Yeah.
The major grant, I think that grant was, for 23.
Yeah, we had it for a long
And
time.
it was
We
different,
didn't
we
do it.
got an extension because of the floods.
Yeah.
That seems like one we need to do.
The small culvert.
I mean, I think I don't feel like I have good enough information about like whether or not to say to push the truck order out another year, but I think that we know what the numbers are, and I think we'll probably be looking at this when we're looking at the highway budget. So I think if John can weigh in on what kind of carrying costs for the 2019 truck have been, or if it's been holding up, pretty well, and we want to roll the dice a little bit on pushing that out and just start deferring those orders.
He'll be here on the 8th.
And I really like the idea of trying to figure out, like, over the next year, to start really pushing on these regional, like, collective purchasing agreements where multiple towns are ordering 3 or 4 trucks, or working with the state, or somehow coordinating so that we're not going out and getting our own financing and getting around everything. Especially if the interest rate situation doesn't change. There'd just be so much more leverage. And I've seen a lot of Western Stars around, so it seems like everybody's buying the same vehicles, over the last 4 years. So it seems like there'd be room to push on that a little bit, and maybe another year buys us the time to start those conversations.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's table that dialogue. Thank you, Kari, for continuing to get the updated and refined. It's great.
Great.
We'll circle back on the ash tree project. So welcome, Neil. Welcome back. No, it's all good. it looks like we've got a handful of, Kari put together in a memo for us, just kind of a summary of, what the recommendations, some of the changes are in scope. It sounds like maybe we had some trees that were, initially tagged just for removal because of their health, I guess. And now the removal of those wouldn't be covered by the grant somehow.
But wouldn't allow trees that aren't ashes.
Oh, okay,
Mark stuff that was hazardous that happened to be there when I was marking the ashes.
I see.
So that's where that came from. I think it's only a handful, there's 56 trees altogether. And I don't know how many that is, but I think it's only a handful of trees that are.
I wonder if if we make a selection, if we could, well, when we make a selection for the contractor, if we could just have them come back and like, just give us a separate quote for the handful that aren't, so that we have them invoiced as separate line items, just to kind of, it seems crazy not to take advantage of somebody mobilized to do the
Yeah,
work.
exactly, that's so much more efficient, they're gonna have to come down anyway.
Yeah, the person at the state, Joanne Garten, who administers the grant, is also like very flexible. She's like, wants us to show that we're making an effort to account for that.
Yeah.
But it's not like we have to keep track of exactly which trees.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as we kind of.
Yeah, so my thought is we could prorate it either, if they can itemize on the bill, that's great, but, show that, or we can explain that to Joanne when we go for reimbursement, that this portion is the town's,
Okay,
and this portion is to be reimbursed by the grant.
Yeah.
And then, if we do go with Vermont Tree Service, we'll have at least $1,000 additional to work with, which, we don't exactly have our final plan for putting the saw logs anywhere yet, so we may be asking the contractor to move those around, depending on what the landowner wants. Or we might be able to purchase additional tree removal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the one piece that we have to figure out is the firewood gets laid down on the side of the road, and like, how do you pick that up so the landowners aren't, they are bucking up firewood on the side of the road.
right, yeah.
But if the contractor could do that for us and we could pay a little bit extra, then that'd be awesome.
Just
That
do,
can be-
just do the bucking up so that people are just picking up logs
Or actually loading log length stuff
Yeah.
into the back of a dump truck and bringing it somewhere that's not on the side of the road.
yeah.
Bringing it to the landowners if they're right there, or somewhere we can stack it up.
Does anybody on the road crew think that, like, we'd be able to use them for shuttling? Would they'd have the bandwidth for shuttling with our dump trucks, or would it have to be?
Potentially,
Yeah.
I was hoping to leave them out of it.
Yeah.
I think there's also an equipment thing, like moving logs means some kind of loader, that you can put them in the back of a truck with, which we don't have.
Yeah, so I think I'd start with a conversation with the contractor and then see if we need to use the road,
Yeah.
we certainly can. I think,
Last week, 2 weeks ago now, geez. I know that this was kind of up for debate when East Montpelier was going through their process, and they ended up using Seth's Chapel location just for the temporary storage of logs in East Montpelier, and it was accessible, and he has equipment there, so he can. I think in that case, he had mentioned that they were using a trailer to transport them, which seems like really like the most inefficient way, because then you need a piece of equipment on both sides. I think they were just trying to do, I think the contractor is the one who ended up doing most of the transporting anyway, but they just kind of stored them on his land, Templeton Road, and Templeton and Center Road.
yeah,
So that wouldn't be too far, I guess, if we could figure out the loading. I'm sure he would be amenable to temporarily storing if we needed to, but I'm sure we could also find somewhere else. It's just a matter of whether or not there'd be a
we've got a list of
piece of equipment somewhere.
residents that would love mashed wood, but
Yeah. And this is a much smaller operation than what East Montpelier.
Yeah.
Volume of that.
But
Okay.
good news is we did get one bid below the grant amount, so.
Yeah, it's pretty large. Swing.
Yeah, it seems, I was like looking at it a second time to try to understand that, distinctions, yeah.
Were you able to check that reference? Did you?
I haven't been able to get in touch with anyone from Hunting, this person, the Vermont Tree Service had done work in Huntington doing this kind of stuff. Removing ash trees, but I haven't connected yet, so. Yeah, so.
Where are they based out of?
He's up
The Jared,
Jericho, yeah. So it's a little bit of a ways for him, but I think it like, it's in the mode of removing ash trees.
Mm.
Yeah, the really high bids tend to be are those big companies, and I kind of.
so
Just
equipment.
throw something out, they have a lot of equipment, you know, if they just throw something out in case it sticks or what the story is.
That's helpful, thank you.
Well, I don't think we have much discretion here, I think, relative to what the bids are, unless there's one that's very local. Occasionally, we consider, using somebody who's more local or a resident.
Burno, I know, is based in Woodbury,
Yeah,
and Marshfield obviously is nearby. We've done business with them before. How much-
almost
how
double.
much is that worth to?
Yeah, that's almost double the price, so, unless there's a strong recommendation for putting one of those two in consideration, I think.
I don't think so, I don't know if you can do some conditional thing, it would be nice to touch base with someone who's worked with
That's what I was gonna say,
before.
yeah.
Yeah, we-
Contingent on getting a good reference, I guess.
We can, so, I think that we, relative to the input, we can, entertain a motion, to authorize Kari to hire, Vermont Tree Service for, $7,000, for the ash tree removal project, contingent on finding an affirmative recommendation from a previous municipality or customer of theirs. I don't know what the other side of that would be if.
If it was, I mean, I think if it was a really bad recommendation.
Yeah, right.
We could go with.
Or I guess I'm more
We'll
concerned
come back. I think we'll come
about
back.
no recommendation, right? Yeah, okay,
Yeah, any of the other bids that we want to pursue, we're gonna have to make some decisions about.
Right,
Yeah.
infrastructure and timing,
Reduce our scope.
right.
yep.
But, and then does that encompass the authorization around the additional $1,000 and use thereof and all of that?
I would
Giving
recommend that.
Kari
It's not a
just
bunch of
choice,
money.
right, like,
Yeah.
it's an all-in,
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
To
Just wanna make-
utilize the 8,000 to the best.
Right.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Use for that.
right,
It's highest use.
great, so we don't need to vote on it, do we?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
would be
we-
accepting
yeah.
this bid, yeah,
That would be
Okay.
an authorization.
pending, contingent on a good reference.
Okay, so can I move what?
Whatever Jordan spat out,
Yes.
and I'll second it.
yeah, I think so, that would be
Yeah.
You
great.
got that, Shayna?
Most importantly, Shayna.
You gonna make the motion? I think
Yes.
I did what Jordan was saying.
Thank you.
Remarkable. Great, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Thanks, Neil,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thanks. So, I'll have no vacation tomorrow, but I'll be checking the email, so once you hear from Huntington, let me know. and-
Okay.
And then we'll
Okay,
contact everybody.
sounds good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So we've got, public comment here before getting into administrative items, pretty light crowd, doesn't look like we have any members of the Calais public. So does anybody need to make use of that time to bring up an issue that's not on the agenda?
I was just gonna ask if there was anything else about the budgeting process that we were meeting to discuss.
Fair.
So next meeting, we'll have John Stafford here for our fall check-in, and we'll go over a draft highway department budget. And then 2 weeks after that, Tegan and I will present our pieces. So then we'll have a really good foundation to start bringing in all the boards and committees. And
Yeah.
commissions. And all that, you'll have a pretty good initial picture at that point, I think.
Yeah.
And should I just use last year's town report to just do the comparative, since it has 2 years anyway?
Yeah, you can, when you start getting the budget worksheets, it'll show 25 budget and actual, it'll show 26 budget, and then it'll show the 27 budget draft.
Perfect, thank you.
Great. Well, so with that, I think, we'll move on to the administrative items. I guess I'll call for any other changes or additions to the agenda. No? Okay. So we have the approval of the minutes from the August 11th, select board meeting. Has everybody had the opportunity to review those? I also did. Can I get a motion to approve the August 11th minutes?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thanks. The vote to approve the board orders as posted to the shared drive. Hopefully everybody's had an opportunity to review those. Were there any questions regarding the warrants that anybody would like to discuss?
Did you all see the one that I sent out today? I was waiting on one last invoice, so it's just the standard monthly benefits, employee benefits.
Oh, is that why it has a star? I just saw that.
There's a star.
It's just flat, it has a little indicator that, oh, you haven't looked at this one. Okay.
$16,000, $600.
Mhm.
Nothing unusual there though.
No,
It's just what it is.
Okay,
it's just a
just
number.
late arrival.
Everybody, can I get a motion to approve and sign the board orders?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. And then we have the approval of the 2025 CVRPC Public Works Mutual Aid Agreement, which we've looked at the last couple of times. And we're basically preparing to sign at this point.
Yeah, so you wanted to see added the names, Jordan and
Yeah,
and then the equipment is in there as well. So, and again, everything is at our discretion. This just sort of formalizes what's sort of been going on, of my understanding, over the years.
So can I get a motion to approve and sign the 2025 CVRPC Public Works Mutual Aid Agreement as updated and filled in?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Thank you. And we have the 2019 International CV
Love it.
515 dump truck that's being sold for $35,200, which is, great.
Yeah, this is our first time using Auction International website. And it was pretty successful. There were over 100 bids total, and the person who made the first bid for $250 was the person who made the final bid. And you can see they bid almost every other time. They just kept bumping it up until they got to that level. And then they pay Auctions International a fee on top of that, so we get the entire bid amount.
That's
Wow.
And we haven't received a check yet, but that's in the mail. And they're coming down from Quebec to pick up the truck tomorrow.
I mean, we must seem like we're light on equipment compared to Quebec, so maybe that's how it is. We buy stuff from South Carolina.
Yeah, right.
For a couple of years, it goes up to Quebec, and eventually it just kind of degrades into nothing. Well, that's great. Can Can I get a motion to approve the sale? Oh, so should we, I guess, authorize Kari or ratify? That's not really an approval. Is it already completed?
It's not complete yet,
Okay.
yeah.
So that would be a motion to authorize Kari to complete the sale for the 2019 International CV 515 dump truck for a total of $35,200.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
I,
And I'm assuming those funds go into the equipment reserve fund for the highway department?
That's a good question. Not necessarily, they're not, there's no. I would just go to the highway department in general, so we could. Probably hold that until the end of the year and. If there is a. Fund balance in the highway. Per. The voters approved in
Right,
perpetuity,
right.
that any fund balance in the highway goes into the highway capital equipment, reserve fund. It also more or less offsets the repaving of the southern half of County Road, which was unbudgeted.
Yeah.
So,
And came out of the general reserve fund, the general, right?
I'd have to go back and check that. That's a good question. I don't remember that. Anyway,
I would like to table any specific allocation of $35,200.
it'll be there at the end of the year, hopefully.
Yeah,
Make that decision.
Great, thank you. The last one, for administrative items is the approval of the PBR 4621-E errors and omissions certificate.
So this is something that happens every year. There's always errors that occur. Yeah, listers have identified 2 so far. I think there's at least 1 more coming, if I understand correctly. And this was something which I just got, so that was in that email from today. So there's 2 items. One is Jeffrey Luce did not receive his veterans exemption this year, or he hadn't by the time it lodged. And we actually, this one's on the state. I got a call from the state person saying, could we add Jeffrey Luce, even though the grant list has been lodged? And I talked it over with John McCullough and said, yeah, we can do that. It's
They send us an Excel sheet every year telling us which veterans to put it on, but usually that comes in March, so we usually go with those names. And then every once in a while, some names pop up, they're not on it.
and he's been on it previously.
Yeah, it was definitely a statement, so it's not.
okay,
The other one is Richard and Marlene Fielder, and then this was a lister error. They purchased some additional land, I understand, and that land, that acreage was not added to their parcel by the time the grand list was added. So.
And they pointed that out to us, they called and said, we didn't get taxed enough, and we're like, we never hear that.
So if I understand this correctly, so the grant list is set and we base the tax rate on that.
Yeah.
So the veterans exemption was something that was left off. And the town will pay for that exemption if it's granted.
Because the voters voted to do that.
But in the case of the Fielders, we'll rent a bill. Or maybe we already have, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
And there will be additional tax revenue that will come in as a result. I don't know the amounts, but. I think it's on here.
There seem to still be parcels that the listers are trying to figure out, so John said this should just be a regular agenda item probably.
So it's on here, actually, it shows the difference in the veterans exemption is $40,000. That's of assessed value, that's not tax dollars.
Right,
that's
right.
assessed value. And I actually think it's only 30, well, I guess it's 40. It's 40, and then the difference on the Fielder property is an increase of 30,000, so they almost offset.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on how the land is valued. different land has different value.
That's true. So, and then this form is kind of odd, it doesn't have a place for the select board to approve, you don't actually necessarily have to approve it. The clerk,
I know, I have to sign
the
it,
clerk signs it,
yeah. I thought there's nowhere for them to sign it, I can't remember.
there's not.
And you said this was an email, because I don't have anything,
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything.
Oh, it's not in there? It,
or maybe it's just in the folder?
I'm not
were
seeing
there
it.
two attachments to that email? That came in
Which
today?
Email?
Did I send you an email today?
I'm not seeing an email from
Oh.
you today, but
You
I,
know what, it's sitting in my,
Draft folder.
Dropbox, here it comes.
That makes me feel so
I
much.
do that so often.
so.
Yeah.
There it is.
So it's that second document there.
Thank you.
It's the first one.
Gotcha.
This says when real or personal estate is omitted from the grant list by mistake or an obvious error is found, the listers with the approval of the select board before December 31st may supply such omissions or correct such errors and make a certificate thereon of the fact.
So is that a certificate or is there?
But then it says, provided however, the listers may make a correction resulting from the filing or rescission of a homestead declaration without approval of the select board. So I guess you do need to approve it, it's just, I guess,
The signatures are to the right of the
oh,
listers.
there they are.
I thought they were on there somewhere.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So do you wanna, is there any point in waiting on this, or because there might be others coming, or we just, we sign each one as they come along?
I would just do it now and then we can
Okay.
reprint the bills.
Yeah.
Can I get a motion, to, approve the signing of the form PVR 4261-E, to, reconcile errors and omissions were presented by the listers.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I mean, I can take a little longer trying to figure out the words if you'd like, Barbie. We have left on the agenda the garage generator and their reports, right? And I see that Cliff has joined us and we're running a little ahead of schedule. So I just wanted to kind of be mindful and pass back to Cliff. I see that you signed on for Zoom and we're running a little ahead of schedule. So I just wanted to give an opportunity if you're hoping to chime in on something in particular, or if maybe you wanted to raise a comment, because we're already past the public comment period, but you're welcome to use it if you'd like.
I'm just here to answer any questions that might come up. I saw that Jamie's going to report on the meeting, and in case there was some other questions or anything I could assist with, I'm just here to help.
All right, well, thank you very much, Cliff. We'll keep rolling through. We only have one more item here on a regular agenda before we get into the reports, and so we'll get to that shortly then.
Fair enough. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Cliff. So the next item on the agenda is the garage generator, which Kari has, we've mentioned it and discussed it in the past about sizing an appropriate installation of a generator for the town garage that is adequate enough to run the facility and open doors and that sort of thing. Yeah, so that,
Right.
you know, in a natural disaster, they would be able to get vehicles out of the garage.
Without
when-
climbing
with-
on the trucks to manually open
Manually
in the
open.
dark. That's not a good situation.
Not a good situation. So the current proposal includes,
So we got two
Yeah.
bids. The low bid was from Farmyard Store, which is based in Newport. And they're proposing a 14 watt Generac. For $11,023 and, in comparing their service plan, it's favorable. We don't have experience with them, as a vendor, but, Toby, who made the recommendation to get a bid from them, is happy with the service he receives for his home generator. And then just so you're aware, it doesn't include the propane tank that would be needed to power the generator. Suburban came out last week to take a look at the site, just like at home, that they will own the propane tank. But there will be a small fee for installing it. Propane.
Was there any discussion about having a generator that runs off of diesel instead of propane?
No,
Just wonder, like, we go through so much diesel, and if we start getting into conversations about trying to do, bulk purchases for all of our other equipment, we've made a pretty decent effort in consolidating all of our equipment and trucks and everything else, even the smaller trucks, the 1 ton that we just bought and everything into diesel, so that we're
yeah,
using as much diesel as
I didn't see
possible.
diesel as an option. Oil was the other option. It was presented in both cases. It wasn't presented as an option. It was just saying that we do sell generators that run off the.
I would assume that would be the same.
Yeah.
I mean, usually
Same.
oil is the same as off-road diesel.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we are able to use off-road diesel in our town trucks, but it's all low sulfur diesel. Anyway.
No, I didn't, that never came up and we didn't really
Okay.
discuss that.
I was just a little, my only question that came up while I was looking at your recommendation was just the fact that we're taking the farmyard store that we don't have an experience with, they say it's gonna be okay to have
The sizing,
Yeah.
yeah,
If you'd already gone back to Brookfield and said, hey, we've got another bid for a 14, and why do you think 20 is necessary? Just in terms
I
of,
didn't do that. I pressed farmyard a little bit on.
Okay.
Is this really enough?
Yeah.
And, was satisfied with the agreement. Also in my mind, and I don't necessarily blame this on Brookfield, but it is the fact of the matter that the generator that we have here is
Significant.
larger than we really need, and we're paying $100 a month
okay,
for the electricity, of the heating unit. Which was just outrageous, but that's what it ended up being, and I do think it's oversized and.
I know
okay, I wasn't
we,
aware. Yeah,
I-
that's helpful.
I know when we first learned that, we had a brief conversation about the idea of moving this one to the town garage and getting a smaller one here. But I assume we've sort of decided that's not cost effective.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, does anybody have any other questions about the generator issue?
Oh, and then the proposal is to purchase this using the capital highway equipment fund,
Mhm.
which has what, $139,019 in it.
And do we need to, was there a price on I'm just looking at the memo, it doesn't have a price on the propane tank,
No, I haven't received that yet.
Okay.
That should be coming this week.
so we'll just do that separately. Or do you wanna
Sure.
do a not to exceed or something like that? That'd be hard to
can come
do.
back.
Okay.
To be exact.
So, is there consensus around, going with the farmyard then, and trying to keep pricing down? entertain a motion to approve the expenditure of $11,000 and $11,023 to Farmyard Store for a 14 kilowatt Generac generator to be installed at the town garage. Should include surge protection, and would also come with an annual service contract of $250. And also include a 5-year limited warranty and 7-year extended warranty that's included in the purchase.
To be paid out of the highway capital.
To be paid out of the highway capital fund.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Um,
Aye. Thank you. Thanks for pulling all that together, Cardi.
Yeah, and thank you. That's a relief, actually.
Yeah.
That was something Ian Tulin was working on when
Yeah.
she was leaving.
And then Barbara revived it.
Yeah.
Was that?
Barbara revived it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right. That will bring us to the various reports. And the first one on the docket was just kind of a check-in with Jamie and the Friends of Calais Town Hall. Jamie, you attended their last meeting, is that right? Or you've been in conversation with them?
Yeah, so Barbara and I both attended a meeting, not their latest meeting, but the one before that. The meeting we attended, only Cliff and Chris Colt were able to attend. But the four of us had a productive and frank conversation, I thought. And just sort of recognizing that some of the issues we talked about at previous meetings, and brainstorming ways to improve the situation with the various rental agreements, standardizing a little bit, or simplifying the rental fee structure and the rental process. We just sort of brought up that we noticed that it hasn't been rented, except, it was rented twice 3 years ago and has had very little activity since. And I think they recognize that and recognize that they've been super focused on these big improvement projects, and that has sort of overshadowed their working towards rentals. I've spoken, and maybe Cliff can chime in at some point. I know I wasn't at their last meeting, but I talked to a couple of the committee members since. And it sounds like they're working on a sort of plan for this fall of how to get the word out that it's available for rent. And recognizing that that's the direction the town would like them to go. And I've spoken with Cliff and I'm happy we'll sit down with him or members of the committee at some point over the next month and sort of brainstorm ways to adjust some of those things to make it more community, just known in the community that it's available for rent. In some conversations, we had a little bit of conversation, I've had a little bit of conversation with other members about sort of long-term scheduling. Is this the model that makes the most sense? Do they want to be the schedulers of the space? And just like discussions around that relationship. I think it's, yeah.
Well, I think one as well, so there's two pieces for me, I guess. Well, one is that the resources that the town now has to kind of track scheduling of different assets is a lot different than it was when this project started. I mean, we have a pretty robust and capable office suite that manages schedules both for, the various committees and that sort of thing, and certainly the select board, that puts a lot of visibility on, and we can also, use it for tracking the schedules of specific entities by creating rooms and that sort of thing. And it seems like we're kind of getting to the point where like managing kind of the what I'm going to very naively call like the lower impact type rentals of that particular space, or booking of any other space, like the downstairs space here, is a lot easier than I think than it would have been previously. And so I think if we can get to the point where everybody's kind of feeling comfortable about where those delineations are and how we're managing that schedule, and certainly putting a preference toward the friends of the town hall to have like very specific like earmarks for bigger events and performances and that sort of thing, so that they have those on the books when they need them. But then at least if we get inquiries or field inquiries into the town office, we have somebody who can be kind of the point person on saying like, well, this is what looks like is available relative to somebody's particular interest to rent it, whether or not that gets, handled by but within the town office or handed back to the friends of the town hall, I think is a good conversation to have, but I think it'd be nice to start working in the direction of defining what that is, how we're gonna be managing those schedulings. And try to get it, refined enough so that we can try to integrate some of that language into, a revised agreement when we're scheduled to, I think it's like usually December that we're signing the next year's agreement, right?
Right. And I think thinking through, I know part of their concern was the sheer amount of equipment and the value of the equipment that's been installed up there, right? So how can we differentiate rentals that have access to and utilize that expensive equipment, which may need some additional oversight or instruction?
Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
versus a community member wants to have a retirement party. They don't need to use the stage lights. How can that be a simpler process?
Right. Or flat out say no. I mean, I think it would be acceptable for the friends to say that like, that's not, available without some, like a representative specifically, or a different pay point or something like
Right.
that, not to, block it off entirely, but definitely setting some sort of rules and expectations around what resources can be used and what can't be used.
Right, exactly.
And I don't know, maybe looking at it in some sort of insurance rider to cover damages or something like that. Without it being like some sort of refundable deposit, which I think it'd be hard to capture a refundable deposit.
That's relevant.
Or that's relevant to the size of
Right.
equipment. There's no sum of money that is going to, be reasonable.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
Which a lot of that equipment was installed. Do you know if it happened, Cliff? I think it was being installed this week.
Some of it earlier. some
Or
of it
last
this
week.
It's been
Nice.
for the last few weeks.
Yeah.
With Sky's hand up.
go ahead, Cliff.
Yeah, just to answer the question, yeah, the equipment install, we hit some delays due to some back order of materials. So the install's ongoing. We anticipate being complete, ready to have a reveal event. Invite the whole town to come and see all these new and wondrous gadgets. Tentatively for the weekend of September 20th, 21st, one of those two dates. It's a Saturday and Sunday. I mean, we're open to all of these ideas that the select board is discussing. We've discussed them ourselves, should there be a split? where smaller events where people just want to book the downstairs, should the select board and the town office coordinate that? Can the Friends, assist with that? It's a lot of moving pieces to consider. Jamie, when we met on the 6th, you had proposed the idea of having some brainstorming sessions. Um, and coming back, Jordan, to the point of the December timeframe, actually, the Friends, according to Barbara, are scheduled to meet again with the select board on September 22nd to discuss the management
Nice.
agreement. Now, of course, we have latitude to push that out. There is an evergreen clause in the management agreement.
Yeah.
So we can agree to meet again in December, or we can agree to meet, September 22nd. Once again, we are, at the service of the board. But yeah, there's a lot to consider here, and we're undertaking some activities. Jamie, it sounds like you may have talked to a couple of the members of the board after our last meeting to look at some aggressive marketing moves to really utilize the hall and let people know that it's available, not just for, there's elements of the plays and musicals and art pieces and whatnot, but also just available to the community. I think that's a huge, huge part of this all. And that's where a lot of the frustration has come from. And I think that if we do have those brainstorming sessions, we can find a solution that just makes it easy and Jamie, to use the term that you came back to time and time again in the meeting on the 6th, to streamline the process and make it more user friendly.
Yeah.
And believe me, personally, I would welcome that, because I'm the person who's a lot of time having to deal with and coordinate and write up these contracts. And it's not just a simple 1, 2, 3. There's all these elements to consider. As part of our aggressive marketing, we are looking at ways to automate the process. If people are interested, we want to give them basically a tool where they can contact us and say, hey, I'd like to have an event at the hall. This is what I'm thinking of. There's going to be maybe this many people there, and we're going to serve alcohol, or we're not going to serve alcohol, and we're looking at these dates. Right now, if somebody wants to do that, they have to go to the town website, look at the calendar, see what dates are available. Then they contact us and say what they have in mind, or maybe they just say, I want to rent the hall for this date. Then I have to go back to them and say, oh, well, are you going to have alcohol? How many people are you going to have? All these questions. And we're looking at ways we can just streamline that and make it so that they basically go to a website. There's a simple form. They put in their information of what they want to do and what they're interested in. They can see a calendar that shows the dates of availability, kind of a one-stop shopping sort of solution. And boom, the hall's yours. That simple.
Well, I mean, I think that's a really great idea, and streamlining, I think, is everybody's objective. I think the town already has through its kind of Microsoft licensing some of those resources, I think, that could integrate really well or facilitate that to a certain extent. And I kind of wonder if before you guys get too far down the road on standing up something like that, and that we also have a parallel conversation with the town on whether or not maybe we're at the point where it makes sense to have like a low cost email address or license for Microsoft that will then give some like scheduling and communication transparency and ease, I think, from like the town side and the Friends side. It's again, as we all know, like the relationship between the Friends organization and the town is wholly unique, I think, across the town. Like we've stood up these types of licensing tools for some of the other committees that have a higher kind of scheduling and communication needs. kind of at an ad hoc basis. So I think this is totally appropriate to have that conversation for this too. So, you know, with regard to like the having a conversation on the 22nd, you know, I would rather go into a meeting feeling like there's been enough time for that kind of brainstorming and process to be worked through so that we can have a really efficient conversation and not get something on the calendar too quickly, right? So
Yeah.
so I think tentatively we're pretty light crew tonight. It's hard to have this conversation a little bit in a vacuum, but I think that we could probably tentatively plan on rescheduling that September 22nd conversation till a little bit later in the season. Most of those schedulings were related to like budget related ambitions, and this one's a little bit different. So I think we could probably find a way to move that a little bit later in the year and give you guys time to continue to organize around the installation of the equipment and fall schedules that you're hoping to kind of pull together, and also provide time for maybe Jamie and Barbara, if they continue to have the bandwidth to participate in kind of that brainstorming process to participate in that with you guys.
And we can look at the agreement, if it has a specific end date in it, we could do interim.
It has like an evergreen, it kind
Yeah.
of continues in perpetuity. So I'm not too worried about like operating outside of the conditions of an agreement. That's not a big deal. I think it's more important to make sure that we're leaving enough time to have good conversation. So if we do entertain changes, we're doing it, you know, as efficiently and comprehensively as we can, so that we're not coming back and forth too much. Does that sound about fair? Cliff?
Yeah, we could certainly support that. To your point, the contract, the management agreement basically says that there is urges all parties to consider the contract and revisit it annually upon the 12-month event of ratification. But if that doesn't happen, it's evergreen and it stays in place until the parties can, you know, meet and renegotiate it as needed. I think that if there are tools that the town has already paid for that we can tap into, great, it saves everybody money. But I also would suggest that we don't overlook the opportunity to promote the hall outside of the community. If there is an opportunity to offset some of the costs to the town for the maintenance of the building by raising funds from external sources, I don't think that's something we want to just discount. So I would look forward to the opportunity to meet and use the term that we've bandied about here, brainstorm upon how we can move forward. Jamie,
I think
is the idea then that Jamie and Barbara would be the team that we would be working with on this brainstorming when we met, the friends met last Wednesday? Artie and myself would be participating in these sessions. So I just want to make sure we have all the right people on the CC list.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, Jamie and Barbara are the ones most connected to kind of the community feedback, and certainly Jamie and Barbara are both really pretty familiar with the Microsoft stuff that I'm referring to. So from my perspective, this is like a yes and type situation that, like, as the friends are exploring ways to promote and manage schedules or bookings and that sort of thing, that it's being, those options are being considered in the context of compatibility with the resources that the town has. And while we may not already have, you know, specific licenses or funds, you know, earmarked for this application, they're not really expensive. So anyway, so without making a formal appointment of a liaison, I think if you could, Cliff, just kind of continue to keep Jamie and Barbara, you know, copied on schedulings of meetings when you're planning to dig into some of these topics. in the interim, that would be ideal.
Yeah, and I'm happy to get a meeting on the books and, get some thoughts together before updates to the agreement.
Fair enough. I'll be sending you, Jamie, I'll be sending you and Barbara an email shortly, seeing if we can identify some dates and make this move forward to the satisfaction of all involved.
That sounds great. Thanks, Cliff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Y'all take care.
Have a good night.
You too.
Keegan, do you have any items for town clerk report?
I was looking at the agreement, it says it's good for a year after date of signature, but one of the signatures is September and one is February and one is May, so we'll have to decide which signature it's good for the duration of the year from. Toby has been doing a great job getting up to speed with the listers. I think John's been in there a number of times and he's doing a really good job of picking up what's going on, given amidst the chaos of tax bills going out and the listers having to untangle all the knots. I feel like in the past, I did a lot of passing on to them messages from folks and not really following through with how that got worked out. But this year, John and I have been working together on a number of things and finding maps and finding deeds and looking at history of the sales to try and figure out what's been going on. So I have a better idea of how these things happen. And like this year, we did go through all the PTTRs before they lodged the grand list to make sure all those changes had been made appropriately. So we staved off any of those problems, but I'm trying to get a bigger hang on how problems arise and what we can do to keep an eye out for them before tax bills go out. So that's kind of what's been going on. It's Carly can attest. I'm often the first one who takes the question and see if I can answer it, and then if I can't, it either goes to him or to the listers, and so that's been a lot of our time the last week.
Well, sounds great, and thanks for taking the opportunity to kind of dive into that stuff while they're in training mode and bringing Toby up to speed. That makes a lot of sense, so appreciate it. Kari.
So a few items, I just got an email from Norm at Pike, saying they have a schedule to repave county road September 8th and 9th,
Okay.
so that's exciting.
They've
Oh.
been doing some markings on the north end of the road. Do you know what that,
The north end of
the orange line? Like somebody, I think it was a Pike truck, was in Maple Corner and painted some orange lines right near where the pavement ends.
Where the edges.
Edges and
Failing.
marking different things on the pavement
I'll ask.
right in Maple Corner.
confirm that they're doing the southern half, not the.
Right,
Right.
I saw it and I was
Same
like,
thought, Jamie, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
wait, did I misunderstand something?
I thought it was maybe relative to the line painting and when I noticed it, because it's on the southern end too, and then it definitely carries on to the
Yeah.
northern end where parts of the road have degraded, and it seems to like be carrying on, like marking where the fog line would be, even over like degraded areas of the road.
Yeah.
Because it seems to be like marking the center line and
Right.
like the boundary from the center.
Yeah. We do plan to get the fog lines painted this year.
Once
Different
that's
company,
finished,
not-
right?
Not Pike. it's-
Oh, interesting.
Forget who it is. L&D maybe, is that something familiar? Something like that.
And it may be that that's who was doing it. Somebody mentioned to me that they saw a Pike truck around the time the orange line showed up, but it might have been a separate.
thing.
Okay, okay.
um,
Well, we'll figure it out.
What date did you say again?
The 8th and 9th.
Mhm.
Just wanted to mention that, this has come up a couple times, but we're starting to work on contingency planning, so the idea being, what would we do if there are key personnel suddenly unavailable? And so the first step was to identify who we think those key people or positions are that don't have redundancy. And then we crafted a message to send to them, asking them to start identifying what are the critical tasks that you do. And then what, are those procedures documented? Is there a secondary person trained, ready to go? And of course, no one's gonna say yes to all those things, but,
Right.
the point is to get started.
Great.
And so, we're working on that and we'll have, update on that.
Yeah, and I am late in giving any feedback on that. Barbara had sent it out a couple of times over the last couple of weeks, and I think it's a good frame of reference. I was, the only feedback I had was that, like, I think it'd be helpful to put transition planning in there, just like contingency and transition planning. I think like contingency wraps people's heads around a very particular response pattern, whereas transition planning is maybe a little more comprehensive in thinking about, like, this is the rhythm and flow of, like, of the year, scheduling when things happen, when things don't happen, as well
Sure.
as, but
Okay,
that was the only feedback. Otherwise, I think it's great.
good. All right, well, we'll proceed with that. The other thing I wanted to mention here was that we're anticipating there'll be a vicious dog complaint. This came up earlier. I just wanted to check, because I'm gonna be gone for the rest of the week. And then we have Labor Day. So I wanted to see if next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and or Thursday are possibilities, should we get that complaint in the next couple of days. We have
an obligation of 7 days. is
7
that-
days, and we have a sense that it's gonna come on Wednesday.
Okay,
This week, Wednesday.
Yeah, so Tuesday or Wednesday next week. Or potentially even Thursday.
But not Monday?
Well, we could do Monday. I won't be here. And
Monday's
It's Labor
Monday's
Day.
the Labor holiday.
It wouldn't be the first time we had a meeting.
Yeah.
I'm not, just making sure.
I know the complainant could come on Monday. I didn't ask them about other days.
Tuesday's my anniversary and I might get murdered.
But not Tuesday.
Understandable.
I have a meeting on Wednesday.
You saying your meeting is more important than my anniversary, Barbara?
We need 3, right? We have to loop Bill into this too. I just wanted to get a sense if there was something, because we'll need to get it scheduled pretty quickly.
Yeah, Thursdays are really hard for me,
Okay.
but Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday would be fine for me.
I couldn't come on a Thursday. I know I'm less
What
So I could
necessary.
do Monday.
was Monday?
I can do Monday, it's fine.
Yeah, I can do Monday.
Okay. I can't be here, but you don't necessarily need me.
We have
So
the,
should we get it, we'll,
I think
It was the procedure now.
we have a procedure now,
Yeah.
which helps a lot, so.
one trick is gonna be, the investigation. Buffy coordinates school buses, and she had this week is crazy for her.
I
She
bet.
asked, could Chris do the investigation? He just got back to me and said that he has a relationship with the owner of the dog. They're friends.
Yeah,
So
would be
he needs to
appropriate.
recuse. So we have to figure that out, but, one way or another, we would conduct the investigation. Okay, well, that's helpful. Should we transition into,
Sorry, are we able to check with the other board members just to see if,
well, Christie, I don't believe Christie's reachable even, but, Bill, we'll contact Bill.
just in case one of us can.
Yeah.
So should we transition into East Montpelier Fire Department?
Yeah,
I wrote up notes,
Yeah.
yep,
basically, they had a break-even year financially, more or less. Their numbers are up a little bit so far this year. And we spent a fair bit of time talking about their capital budget, which, they're starting to make some progress. And I think their big takeaway, hopefully for everybody, was that if they feel like they're gonna need to ask the towns for money to pay for their capital equipment, then we needed as much advance notice as possible. They're unsure if they would, but fire engines are really, really expensive, so it would be hard for them to just fully fund that out of their financing, but not in Boston, so. I think, we'll continue that the next time we meet with them, but I think they heard us loud and clear that that was important.
Hmm.
I was encouraged that was the best conversation we've had about capital planning, I thought,
That's great.
so. Any questions about that?
I just had a question about the fire department concerned that they won't have water supply without the reservoir. What's the reservoir?
The reservoir being the water that's held back by the dam currently,
Okay,
which I hadn't thought about that, but dry hydrant is drawing from a pool of water.
right.
I guess it's not unheard of for the dry hydrant to come from moving water. But
This
when it
is
gets
East
really
Cap.
low,
This is-
like it is
we're talking
right
about
now.
East Cap, so,
East
yeah,
Coast specifically, yeah.
yeah, and that's not a variable that's come up before?
They had mentioned
Well,
it, but I can't remember what they represented. I think
The
that they had
engineers have
alluded.
done it.
Yeah.
They were confident it's doable. They didn't express concern
Okay.
about that. I passed that concern along.
Yeah,
I haven't heard back exactly, but,
and I think they could probably also put in like a cistern essentially somewhere, like there's something that is being, regularly charged. It wouldn't be,
It
it
wouldn't
obviously
be-
wouldn't be a reservoir, but it would be, it could be
reliable.
fairly large.
Yeah. They really emphasized I got it loud and clear that that's important
Yeah.
hydrant for them.
Hmm.
Because if they can't draw on that, they have to drive miles and miles to get to the next hydrant. Next one's up north is in Woodbury. So, but my sense is that the engineers fully expect to design that in. They just weren't sure where yet.
Mhm. Thank you.
Mhm.
And then, the last kind of block of information is relative to the, joint meeting between, some Woodbury officials that, Carrie and I had last week. And Carrie kind of covered the high notes on, in his memo. I thought it was a really good,
Yeah.
conversation, much like the one, was with Worcester. And, I think everybody's, in a very kind of collaborative mood and wanting to sort it out. I think they've got some pretty acute bandwidth needs, or challenges. They're a smaller select board. And
There are three Woodbury.
yes, three, yeah. So we met with, Chris Casey, who's their chair of their select board, their treasurer Lily, Barron, and, what was the Robbins, their, town clerk, as well. So we got some really good, I think, representation of their kind of governance structure. And a lot of good dialogue. I'd say that the vast majority of that is around trying to find ways to get more collaborative in figuring out like what are the material expenses, the material budgets, and are some of our consumables, and see if we can start playing around with conversations about collective buying and
Yeah.
bargaining.
Well, I love the loader point that they rent a loader every year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
a loader or a large excavator. I think it was a large track excavator. Either way, I think equipment was top of their list for them.
Yeah.
Because they're regularly needing to rent stuff.
Yeah.
Their road budget and department is much smaller than ours, though the mileage of roads that they're maintaining is as close as any of our neighbors, to ours. So, I think they're pretty open to having those conversations, to share or compensate each other for resources used. And focusing on the low hanging fruit for like quantifying, like propane, diesel, materials. So my takeaway was that they were gonna work on putting together a list of things that they're either buying under contract, or have good quantitative information on the volumes that they're using annually and comparing those with ours and seeing if we can't work more collaboratively and soliciting better prices or going out to bid for some of those. Like if we have a
Yeah.
good volume of stuff, we could go out to bid on some of these things like fuel or or materials, like let people compete for a larger number, which isn't necessarily how we do things. And I think contracts falls into that category too. So there's also you know, IT service contracts and other things that
We
are
were getting creative.
we were really getting pretty creative and thinking about the things that we're all largely buying from similar vendors or paying for, where there's a lot of overlap, so.
Yeah.
That's
And
kind
I
of,
don't think we have to limit it to Woodbury. I mean, I think we could think
Yeah.
about, you know, 4 or 5 towns maybe. And there have to be some of these, supplies that just make sense to try something and see what we can do.
Great.
Yeah.
was there anything else, I guess, from that conversation that you wanted to touch on?
No, I think that's it.
Great, well. That's all we've got on the agenda. I want to acknowledge that Kari sent around his personal evaluation. And last time we went around, we had a reporting form, Barbara, which you haven't seen, but that was sent around to each of the select board members to kind of fill out on the different areas that I think was kind of helpful to that conversation too. So I intended to send that around last week and didn't quite get the time to. So I'd still like to commit to getting that circulated and then everybody take the time to fill it out. And then last time I collated everybody's feedback and pulled together common feedback and trends. And then when we put it on the agenda to review all of that, we'll just have it all together.
Okay.
Does that sound right? Good.
I didn't think we were gonna do that part this year. But now we're just.
Well, it wasn't exactly a full 360 bit, but
I'm happy.
I think it helps get everybody's feedback organized, yeah. As long as everybody thinks that would be good,
Yeah.
all right,
Sounds great.
very good. Well, thanks, everyone. Thanks.
Just to
Sandra?
confirm, so the agenda item town administrator performance review is getting pushed.
Yeah, it's not
Like
on,
it's not
Right.
this time, okay.
right. It feels a little weird to do that without the others, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if everybody's comfortable pushing that, then I think that'd be worth doing.
Great.
If we can.
Yep.
Sorry, Kari, but thank you.
It's fine. Start my vacation early.
Yeah,
In fact, we can get these signed.
yeah. With that, I'd like to move to adjourn. Or just declare adjourned. I'm gonna call it adjourned, call the meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.